For Utah State, we have student-athletes Sam Merrill, Justin Bean, Coach Craig Smith. Coach, if we can start with you, some thoughts on tonight's game.
Well, first of all, I'm going to give credit to New Mexico. I thought they played a heck of a game. They made a lot of plays. They made it very, very difficult for us. They're incredibly talented. They're long. They're athletic. There's not much they don't have. And so, obviously, they've kind of changed their style of play throughout the course of the year, and certainly seeing them against Wyoming last night, we figured they would pick us up full court like they did the first half at their place, and we really handled their press well there. Obviously, wasn't so well tonight, but that's a big credit to them. They really sped us up. We hadn't played in 9 days. Our break was longer than our Christmas break, and I thought we showed a little rust with that. And then the other part of it is I didn't help our guys enough with our press break. We made a couple adjustments at halftime that I thought really, really helped. We had 15 turnovers in the first half and 9 in the second half, 2, I think, in the last 8 minutes. So and that's normally, we really handle the ball well and take good shots. But, they got up by 8, and our guys just were in the huddle. We're going to find a way to win. We're going to find a way to win and give our guys credit. We really stayed in attack mode. We had to deal with a bunch of, we had foul issues all night long. We had 4 guys, 3 guys with 2 fouls in the first half, and Sam picked up his 3rd with about a minute to go, picked up his 4th with about 8 to go, and we just had to kind of keep negotiating that whole thing. So at the end of the day, you find a way to win. This is March Madness. You're going to get everybody's best shot because nobody wants to go home, and everybody kind of resets their record and resets their mindset and so on and so forth. So we're fortunate to pull out that victory.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take questions for the student-athletes first, and then we'll come back to Coach.
Sam, it seems whether it's the NCAA tournament or conference tournaments, a high seed tends to get a scare early from a school like that's seated lower than them, then goes on to make a deep run into the tournament. Do you feel like this was that game for you guys, and now you're going to make a deep run into either the finals or even further?
I mean, we sure hope so. Like Coach said, obviously we showed a little bit of rust, and felt like, we only had 24 turnovers compared to how we felt. I mean, I felt like we had 35, 40 turnovers, but, like Coach said, New Mexico's a good team, and, they've obviously had their ups and downs this year, but at their best, they're a really tough team to beat, and we saw that tonight. I thought our crowd was awesome. I thought New Mexico's crowd was incredible. I mean, give them credit. 7th seed, they didn't have the year they wanted, and they still show out and had 4,000 fans. So they deserve a lot of credit, and our fans do as well for how much they helped us. But, we're grateful that we were able to come out with a win tonight, and we'll focus on, whoever's next, whether it be Fresno or Air Force.
Bean, might have been your best game of the season, 14 points, 15 rebounds, both career highs. How were you able to bring the energy throughout the entire game when you were facing like a really difficult press that New Mexico was giving you guys?
I think what speaks wonders to not just my performance tonight, but this team is that, we weren't very smart today, obviously, in the first half. We didn't play our basketball, turning the ball over more than we usually do, but things that usually don't show up in the stat sheet are, toughness and grit, and this team has that. And so I think we, collectively as a team did a great job just not giving up, and, credit to my teammates, they did a great job. I tried to make good cuts to the basket and try and fly around the rim, and they were able to give me some good passes so I could go up and finish.
And then Merrill, 23 points, 9 assists. Coach mentioned the 4 fouls that you kind of had to play with for the last bit of the game. How are you able to kind of balance your aggressiveness, your ability to get your teammates involved, with knowing that you kind of had to be a little bit careful with the foul situation?
Yeah, that's the first time in a while that I've been in foul trouble. But our coaches do a great job, no matter who's on the court, no matter who's guarding who, of putting us in positions to succeed. So, to be honest, it felt like we were on defense almost the entire game. I mean, if this was a football game, they would have completely dominated time of possession. But, Coach just told us to stay on attack, and stay on attack. And, even though we had 24 turnovers, we got a lot of really good looks and got a lot of shots at the rim, and obviously shot a ton of free throws. And, that's partially because of the way they played and partially because of, the attack mode that we were in. So thought it was, aside from the turnovers, I thought we got a lot of good shots, and that helped us.
On a side note, I'm so proud that Sam used the football reference.
I'm a football guy, too.
Yeah, the Saints. How'd they do? That went right to the heart right there.
They did better than the Vikings.
I know.
Sam, Justin, what did you guys do in that second half to really exploit that press a little bit better? New Mexico's coach said you guys switched some things a little bit in the second half to do some things a little bit better offensively.
I mean, Coach Smith at halftime, like he said, he drew up some good plays for us to have more, we needed more urgency. That was the first thing. We couldn't be scared, and that was what he told us. Don't hide from the ball, make sure you flash, help our guys out, especially Abel Porter, who had most of the, the weight on his shoulders, bringing the ball up. And so he had a couple of good plays that he drew for us that we had practiced and worked on, and we were able to execute them and really attack the middle. So.
Yeah, I mean, Coach just reminded us who we are as a team, and obviously we didn't play like that in the first half, but he just continually reminds us to play with poise and to play with confidence. And aside from the X and O's adjustments that he made, more so than anything, it was just a mentality of, like Justin said, coming to the ball, being aggressive, being on attack mode, and that's what helped us out the most.
Sam, Scott Bemis from NBC in Fresno. I know it could be either Air Force or Fresno State, but I'm just curious. I'll just ask you about the games you played during the regular season with the Bulldogs. Why do you think those games were so intense, so nip and tuck, and they both came down to the wire? What made those such good games between you guys?
Well, I think both teams are pretty good, but Fresno poses a lot of challenges to us, and they obviously have really good guard play with Braxton and Deshaun, but they really do a good job of spreading teams out, and we struggled at times with that, did better at other times, but they can really shoot it. They got a lot of guys that can shoot it, and they play with good pace. They're really well coached offensively. They get a lot of good shots, so if it does come to be them, I anticipate another fun game.
Sam, Dana Green with KTVX in Salt Lake. You said before that you want to erase any doubt and win this thing, so Selection Sunday is easier. What do you think a win like this, though, does to your chances? Do you like your chances regardless of what happens from here on out?
Well, like I said last week, you never know what's going to happen. So we have one goal for this weekend, and that's to win the whole thing. And wasn't pretty, but we're one step closer. So. Every win, I think, will help our resume. So we're going to go try and win tomorrow. And not only would that help our resume, but that would get us one step closer to winning the tournament. So that's our main goal right now.
So, Coach, I think it was around the 15:08 mark. You called a timeout. It was on their run. They made back-to-back three-pointers. What did you talk about? What did you talk to the guys about in the huddle to kind of get them to rally and make the run that they eventually did?
Well, two things. We talked about NBA, and NBA, a lot of people think National Basketball Association, and for us, NBA means next best action. And when you get to tournament play and March Madness and this, that, it's always about the next best play. And then the second thing, and we've been saying this from day one, is you got to earn it. You got to earn respect. You got to earn victory. You got to earn everything in life. And they got up 8, and they made their run, and now it's our turn to fight back. And it's a 15-round heavyweight fight, and so they won round 8, 9, and 10. So let's win 11 through 15, and let's be the last man standing.
So, Sam and Coach, we talked before the season about, how excited you were, how everybody was just bought in. How good does it feel now to be where you are and be able to kind of tell people, we weren't just saying words, that we knew what we were talking about?
Yeah, it feels good internally as a team. We've obviously made a lot of progress throughout the year, and for good reason. Expectations weren't super high, like I've said before the season from the outside, but we felt like our culture and our identity would win us a lot of games, and I think it really has. We're not the most athletic team in the world. To be honest, we're not the most skilled team in the world, but we have those things that you can't measure, like Justin said, like toughness, grit, heart, and we really play together as a team. So it's been a really fun run so far, and we're hoping that it keeps going.
And then with the foul trouble that you got in today, I noticed a lot of frustration from you. Was that frustration about the calls, or were you frustrated with yourself?
Just, I'm trying to be on the court as long as I can. So.
Hey, you didn't play 5 minutes tonight. That's 5 times as much as the last 4 games.
That's right. He'll be ready.
You should be well rested tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
35.
Yeah, just every game has calls that go your way and calls that don't. So, like Coach said, we just try and focus on the next best action and move forward from there.
All right, and last one, sorry. So knowing that you have the depth that you do, so that even when there is foul trouble, you can, have someone on the court that you trust. How much does that mean to you as the MVP, as the fans were calling you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been multiple times this year where I've been out of the game and we've gone on runs. So personally, I'd like to be out there, but I have all the confidence in the world. And we as a team, like I said, we play as a team, and we're not focused on one guy. So whoever's on the court, we're going to stick together and try and do things the right way.
Justin, can you talk a little bit about the free throws at the end? You haven't been at the end of games. You haven't really been in there with the pressure.
We almost airballed one.
Yeah, there wasn't any pressure. That's why I missed that one. No. Yeah, I've always felt like I was a confident free throw shooter. Like you said, there hasn't been many opportunities. I can think of maybe Nevada late in the fourth quarter, a couple minutes left. I was able to hit a couple that pushed us up again by 4, but it was kind of a similar situation. So I think that mentally really prepared me for that. And so, yeah, I was able to just be poised. I saw my family just sitting in the right section of the bleachers, and so that always helped too, having them here from Oklahoma. So, yeah, it was, and my teammates as well, they just kept telling me, knock these in. And so their confidence, and as well as coaches, meant the world to me, so I was able to get it done.
A question for both Merrill and Bean. Diogo Brito in the second half was amazing. 14 points. He had a really important steal there at the end on a three-point attempt. His first half performance was not anywhere near that level. What happened at halftime? Did you guys say something to him? What was he like at halftime that kind of maybe changed his attitude a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Diogo would be the first to admit that he did not play well in the first half. But I think this, that's the identity of our team. No one's yelling at Diogo for his turnovers, besides maybe coach. But as a team, we're just constantly trying to focus on the next play. And Diogo's been so big for us all year, but especially throughout this stretch run. So we have all the confidence in the world in him and in the rest of our team. And he was, like you said, he was awesome and huge for us in that second half. Hit a couple big threes, a couple big steals, and that was big for us.
Yeah, I agree with what Sam said really quick. Just Diogo he's a next best action guy, and he's not too worried with when he makes mistakes. He's always looking to the next play. Or what I love about him is he's always trying to help the team collectively and tell the next guy you got this if we make a mistake, or he's always comforting or trying to motivate them to do better. So that's a great thing about Diogo.
Yeah, Coach Smith. So New Mexico opens up an 8-point lead in the second half, and then Coach Weir picks up a technical foul. You guys score 4 straight, and it seems like that was a little bit of a turning point in the game. How do you feel like that specifically impacted the second half and impacted the game?
I mean, anytime you can go on a 4-0 run, I mean, anytime you can put a string together of stop and score, that's huge. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but obviously he got the tee. Sam made both free throws. We ran an baseline out of bounds play. Sam had a really clean look at it, missed it, and I don't remember who got the offensive rebound, but I know we scored off of that. So, it's such a fine line. Division I men's basketball, it's amazing with the three-point line how quick things can change, and we've experienced that in a major way, both ways. The way we, against Colorado State at the end, and but we flipped the script, at Boise in winning a game like that. So it's just a fine line of winning and losing. But I think you said it was 8, and we cut it to 4, in a matter of 10 seconds. So those are big momentum plays. But obviously, New Mexico played really, really well, and we kept coming back, and then they would answer the bell, and then they would come back, and they would answer the bell, and then we were just able to make, just one more play. We were up 1. I think we were up 3. Then they score, and then we're up 1, and we run a play, and it was kind of, Abel made a good decision, then got it to Sam, and it was kind of a play where Sam just had to make the right decision. And depending on if they stunted at him, Sam was going to get a clean look. If they rotate to him, he goes one more. And that's the story of our team. Sam is just he has 8 assists tonight, right? 9 assists. Yep, sorry, Sam. And 23 points. And just makes the right play and goes one more. And like you said with Diogo, drills that 3 in the right corner. And that was that was a big dagger, most definitely.
I'm going to let the student athletes go at this time. Thank you, men, for coming down. We'll keep Coach for a few
Thanks,
more
fellas.
minutes. Questions for the coach?
Coach Alan Snell with lvsportsbiz.com. Two questions. Can you talk a little, what is your assessment of how you guys responded to New Mexico's defensive pressure? Because you had about 19 turnovers in the first half, I think. And also, talk a little about your center defensive play. There seemed to be a lot of defensive tussling going on between your center and New Mexico's big men.
Well, the first part, we had 15 turnovers in the first half, and like Sam said, it felt like 25. And first of all, they did a great job. They really sped us up. We were on our heels, clearly. And then the second part with that, like I said earlier, like I didn't have our guys in the right positions. And so we made some adjustments at halftime and changed. I mean, we have a bunch of different press breakers, but we started utilizing a couple other ones that we should have been in earlier, quite frankly. So we weren't setting as a coaching staff. I didn't think we set our guys up to have success. And it's a player's game. Players got to make plays. At the same time, coaches got to put guys in a position to make plays. And so we had 9 in the second half. I think 2 in the last 9 turnovers, 2 in the last, I think, 8 minutes, including the one with 12 seconds to go. So they did a good job. And then the other part of that, and I don't want to make it a bigger deal in it, but when you don't play for 9 days in basketball, like that's a long break. And and on the flip side, New Mexico played 3 games. And so, as we all know, basketball is a rhythm game, and they sped us up. Second part, Nemish Keita is a big-time player. And Nemish is it's hard to believe he's a true freshman. And at 19 years old. And so, obviously he was named the Freshman of the Year in the Mountain West Conference and the Defensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West Conference. And he's a force to me. He has 6 block shots tonight. He played 35 minutes. He just had that look in his eye. He really wanted it. And he's a very, very determined individual that wants to be coached. And, a lot of guys say they want to be coached, but then you get critical of them, and then they don't want to be coached. And Nemish he wants to be coached, and he wants to be special. And so, but all 3 games when we played these guys, including tonight, obviously, it's been a fist fight. I mean, literally, that first game in New Mexico, I mean, Bragg was big time down there. He made, I think, 4 17-foot jumpers. And when he gets going in a groove, there's a reason he was at Kansas to start. I mean, and they do, like I said at the top, they're so athletic. They have great size. And they sub one big guy out, and here comes the next one. And then here's the next one. And they're all 6'10" and sturdy and athletic. And but it's been a physical battle. And, in March, it's always going to be physical.
Coach, despite the 24 turnovers, you held them under 40% shooting. You shot 53% yourself. How were you kind of able to settle into your style of play as the game went on?
Well, we just kept chopping wood. I know it's an analogy that our local guys have heard us say, but you can't knock down a tree with one big swoop of an axe. You just got to keep on chopping and chopping and chopping, and eventually it should fall down. And, at the end of the game, we got 6 of 8 stops to finish the game. 6 of 8 stops to finish the game. I mean, Bean ending possessions. It was a difficult. Do we play big for us, meaning like Quinn at the 4, Nemi at the 5, Bean at the 4? We went a little bit where we had the 4 guards in there, but not very much. But then Bean we were ending possessions. And this is a team, New Mexico, that was averaging 17 offensive boards a game over the last 5 games. So we had to have some level of physicality. And Justin Bean is just a magnet to the ball. And so, fortunately, as a coaching staff, our guys have really bought into the defensive side of it. Last year, our program was we were at the bottom or very near the bottom at basically every defensive statistical category you could imagine. And so for us to end the game with 6 out of 8 stops and have a plus 18 rebounding margin, 46 rebounds to their 28, I think really speaks volumes to the buy-in that our guys have had and what we've done all year. We're the number one defensive rebounding team in the country this year. We finished the regular season as the number 1 defensive rebounding percentage defense and number 4 in 2-point field goal percentage defense. So we're top 5 in both of those categories. It's only been done 4 times since 2002. So, you know, the proof is in the pudding.
Go ahead.
Coach, was there any point in this game that you thought maybe the team had gone into it too confident or overly confident?
Oh, no. Listen, New Mexico, we've had, I mean, that game down in the pit was crazy. We knew this was going to be a dogfight. We've had very good practices coming into this. Like, I felt good. Our guys have been locked in. This is a prideful team, and not prideful like in a bad way. I mean, this is a team that has a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and there's been very, very few games or even halves where we've had to kind of like rip them for this or that or the other. And our constant is we show up ready to play. We have good effort. We're really unselfish, and so there was no figment of overlooking or anything. Like, they have our respect without a question. We knew this would be this type of. We felt like this could be this type of game.
A couple more questions right there.
All right, Coach, you've said throughout the season that the goal for this team is to win the Mountain West title.
Yep.
But you know that tournament play is far different than just regular season
Absolutely.
play. What did you see tonight that helps you to believe that this team can actually go and win the next 2 games and the Mountain West title?
Well, we found a way to win. I mean, I thought New Mexico was really, really good tonight. And I've watched so many of their games, as obviously our staff and our players. And they're incredibly talented. And you know, like Sam said, our fans traveled well, and they had, I mean, you know, last night you're hearing the roars when they were down 13 to Wyoming, and all of a sudden, you know, Jackson just kind of puts them on their back. And I was up in the lobby because our practice time was, you know, basically right after their game, but it started early because the game went a little bit longer than we anticipated. And all you could hear was the deafening roars up in the corridor, or whatever you call the, you know, up by the concession stands. And so you could feel that tonight without a question. So, you know, tonight we obviously found a way to win when things were not going great, and things didn't look, you know, looked a little bleak for us there for a stretch. But at the end of the day, our guys have great resolve. They have great pride. They want to represent Utah State in the right fashion. They want to represent the Mountain West Conference in a great fashion. And listen, like after we clinched the regular season title, or at least a share at Colorado State, when you win a conference championship in the regular season, you go 15-3, and we started out conference play 1-2. So I think we've won 15 out of 16 now, and 8 in a row. Like, you got to battle everything. You're battling sickness, you're battling travel, you're battling your body not feeling well, you're battling 6 of our 12 guys that dress being true freshmen, so they've never been here before. You battle all kinds of things. And so for us to be able to do that, it's given us an incredible amount of confidence that, you know, we can play with anybody in the country on any given night.
Last question.
You mentioned the buy-in and, you know, some of those defensive statistics, how they've flipped. How hard is that to do, you know, in 1 year with a coaching change? And I guess how impressed are you with the guys of doing it so quickly?
I can't. I literally, and I don't want to sound like a cliche, I literally cannot give our guys enough credit. This is a team that returned 4 guys that had ever averaged more than 7 minutes a game in Division I basketball. Dwayne Brown Jr., Sam Merrill, Quinn Taylor, and Diogo Brito, right? And Crew Ainge and Abel Porter were the 2 guys that averaged 7 minutes a game, but they didn't play every game. And so that's a challenge. And those 4 guys have been tremendous leaders for our guy. Quinn Taylor is like the Mr. Unsung Hero. The guy's like a rock. He's the godfather or the grandfather. But his stable leadership for our whole team, but especially Nemish Keita, when you have a freshman that can literally, I want to say look up to him, but Nemi doesn't look up to a whole lot of people physically. But he's been unbelievable for Nemish with his mentorship and leadership and communicating and all that kind of stuff, as have all of our upperclassmen. And then our guys just kept chipping away. And then you have a guy, you know, Sam's obviously the player of the year and well-earned. But Sam is just so competitive. And what I was told when I first got hired is all that guy cares about is winning. Doesn't care about his stats. Doesn't care about his numbers. He likes to play, like he said, but guy just wants to win. And so when you're most accredited. You know, he was a returning third-team All-League guy from last year, so he was the only guy in our team that has ever had anything like that at this level. When you have a guy like that, that's your hardest worker, and he's so selfless. So many times he could have forced tough shots or whatever, but he just makes the right play. How contagious that is for your program. And he, not only that, he wants to guard the other team's best player every night, best perimeter player. So the buy-in has been incredible, and the leadership has been incredible, and so I can't just speak highly enough to those guys.
Okay, thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you guys for coming out.